Dr. Ray is not only a doctor, but he's also a friend. I'm really lucky. So we're here today to talk about continuing our series on mindful parenting. And the reason I wanted Dr. Ray to come is because not only he's an extraordinary human being and extraordinary relationship coach, he's also a dad in a very unique way. And I wanted to bring a little bit of this masculine energy into the conversation of parenting, because a lot of the times the women are in the forefront of that, and there's a lot of that feminine energy being poured out. I don't know if exactly a balanced way of the feminine, but just a lot of that out there. And I wanted a male perspective, and so maybe Dr. Ray can share a little bit with us how he became a dad, which is a very cool and interesting story.
This is when you are sharing this very moment, it's bringing up several things, because I work with clients, and I think it was last year, I worked with a couple women who were pregnant, and the men walked away. And their own child was grown inside this woman. Yeah. And I didn't understand how a man could do that. So that I had that experience last year, and in fact, 3 months ago, her child was born. And she's in a really good place, and still helping her through the process. Kind of shown up still as that masculine figure, even though her, when I say shown up, we're working together. Yes. And I've also seen men just, with friends on Facebook who I've come closer to, share with me the same thing. Like, I don't know how their man is not showing up. And I'm seeing women really do it all. They're being the hunters, the gatherers. They're doing so much, and I imagine how difficult that could be. And I just went to that because I want to talk about that a little bit, but you just asked me a question about how I become a dad. So it's unique, and I think it'll speak to those who might, if they're watching this, they'll think, well, you don't understand my situation. It's really unique. It's really hard to do that. I lose myself because of this. Yes. You're not in my shoes. Well, I went through experience that it's like a movie. Maybe it'll really become a movie. Yeah. So I had I had a child with a woman who I barely knew, and what happened was she was separated at the time, and she got pregnant, and she got back together with a husband, and they decided to have a child without me knowing, and she felt guilty after like a month into it. She reached out to me, and there was still a little uncertainty whether it was mine or not. I mean, because the reality is that a lot of babies look the same. Let's all agree. They're kind of pushed in, puffy and all that.
Especially right after they're born.
Okay. So to not make it awkward for the family and all of that, and I mean, the whole situation was awkward, but I reached out to him and had said, I said that he kind of knew something, that it was a good chance it wasn't his. And he was polite over the phone, and he decided I said, well, you need to get a DNA test first. Yeah. He does, and I was lied to and was told that it was his child. So 5-6 months passes by, and I didn't bother to check because I didn't think people lie about things like this. Yeah. In fact, I came forth saying, if you both are together and he's in a safe environment, I would just like to participate in whatever way I could. Yeah. And I was excited. I was happy. So, and they lived in a different state. And then 6 months later, she reached out to me and said, Max is yours. And I'm not going to give the whole story of how that happened, but she left, and I guess it became very tumultuous and everything else, because she found out, within another month, he started really looking like me. And she says, where's that paperwork? You're lying. And it took her this long because, he had everything was under his control. Yeah. And so when I share the story with some people thinking, aren't you not mad at her and whatever? And I feel as though she did the best that she could.
Absolutely.
She did the best that she could, and she was in a place where she really was, this person was very manipulative and so forth. And I had the experience with him because when she left him and Max came back in my life, he was attacking me. And she ended up getting a restraining order. This guy was a dangerous man. So imagine I took on all of that. So one day, instantly, I was a daddy. And I had a woman in my life, the mother of my child, who had no car, no cell phone, no money, all these different things. and I had to jump in. So you imagine the utter terror, the utter fear that I had of, okay, I'm a skilled man, and my friends are laughing, well, you're a real good coach. You know how to handle this stuff. You're Dr. Ray. I'm like, oh my God. The first night that Max stayed at my house, oh my God, I was so out of control. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. And that moment, I had this awakening. I went, oh my God, this is what women do? Wow. This is what taking care of a child is about? The patience, losing sleep. It was just like this deep empathy of like, and you're trying to be your best. You're trying to be conscious, and yet you have your own needs also. You're just basic, essential needs, sleep.
Yes.
And how do you continue to stay awake in the process?
Yes.
Also, because not everyone has a good marriage. Not everyone has a situation where both parents are on the same page.
Yes.
So it's one thing to like maybe have your child behave a certain way. It's another thing to already be, say, pissed off at your husband or wife. So that adds to it. Even though I'm not with this woman, I'm co-parenting, we had to figure out our opinions and views about how we would raise him, from what foods he would eat and other things. And she definitely grew up on a different side of the tracks than I did. Yeah. And I don't mean that negatively. She's very much in alignment when it comes to spirituality. Now I realize why she became the mother. Where she's just unbelievable. Like, meaning that I'm helping her foster this kind of empathic part of herself. Yeah. But she has a lot of the old pain body stuff that had happened to her in her childhood, but it happens to all of us.
Yes.
But in that situation, what has come up, I'm taking up this whole time talking.
Oh, please. That's what we're here for. I don't want to talk all the time.
Is imagine the judgment I had with her, the resentment for 6 months because he was not in my life. I didn't have that. Even though I'm a compassionate person, for God's sake, it was my son. Yes. So I felt like I missed that. He didn't know me. So here I was trying to take on this responsibility of having him stay with me. He really didn't know me. I didn't know when he was taking a crap. Little things like that. Now I look at him like, oh, he's taking a crap. It's really easy.
Yeah.
I know when he's tired. I know when he's about to check out. I'm like, all right, that's why this is why he's being a little, he's being a little grouchy. Yeah, it's just little things. Yes. I didn't know those things. Yes. And it would be equivalent to someone handing a child to a babysitter, and this babysitter not knowing anything about your child. And I had to take that on. So I had all this frustration, anger, and whatever I had about the situation, but I was so excited to have a child. But what it forced me to do, and what kind of brings us to this conversation, is that the reality is that he wasn't doing anything wrong. There was nothing really wrong about the situation. It didn't meet my expectations the way that I have a child. I didn't have the child with someone who I can co-parent within the same house. Yeah. So it brought up so many control issues. I couldn't control what she was doing over at that home. Many moving parts. But what it did is it really forced me to have to really look at myself and really finally practice everything that I preach.
I love that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so good. Isn't that what parenting is all about, but most people are not aware of most of the time?
It's absolutely. You can see, I don't know how much like brain biology you want to talk about, but it's like children don't learn by you saying, don't do this. That's part of it. Children learn by how you talk to your partner. They learn by what you're feeling. So people talk about tantrums, they talk about the terrible twos and all these other things, and I feel as though that's kind of part of the collective consciousness, and it doesn't mean that we all have to subscribe to it.
Amen.
It's that early on, and even if you're watching this and your child is already, say, 8, 9, 10 years old, it doesn't really matter, that just you have the ability to change perceptions by your own interactions. And what I mean by that is that we have mirror neurons. So when you're in tune with your child or whomever, your spouse, that they're neurons will match yours, the mirror neurons. That literally changed structural changes within the brain. So the other day I was at this playground and I saw this parent running after her child. Will you calm down?
Calm down first. You.
And I'm like, wow, there's definitely there's something incongruent here. And I mean, that would be an example. Or even something subtle as this. Mommy, daddy comes home. How's your day? It was fine.
Yeah.
So you teach that your child how to be in their relationship. How are you, honey? It was a good day at work. These incongruence with just facial gestures, just their energy. If you want to raise a child to be completely authentic and congruent with him or herself, it takes you being authentic with yourself also a lot of work. And so that's something I've experienced with, say, the mother of my child. Yeah. And we become like really close. Mm-hmm. However, she's going through school and she's being challenged a little bit. Yeah. There's a lot of other situations that she had to do, which is understandable. I mean, I'm impressed by everything she's done. But she's in a place in her life where a lot of her insecurities coming up, and therefore my son acts out more with her. Because that's kind of a representation of just herself also. She's not as grounded, but she's also saying, I'm not as grounded as you, Ray. Yeah. And so he doesn't feel maybe as safe. This is just theory, okay? But he definitely is more drawn to me. Even though he was out of my life, now it's different. He's definitely, like she says it too, he's a daddy's boy. Yeah. It's not because I give him ice cream and I give him candy.
People, yes,
it's not because it's not because I spoil him. It's more because I am so present with him.
Yes.
I am present with him. We gaze at each other. I'll look at him in his eyes, and we'll just look at each other. And to the point where I know what he's doing. I know when he's up to trouble. I know when he's trying to test me, shit test me, because he'll do that one thing again. He's like he's going for the water fountain. He's like this. He goes he has this funny grin. And I'm like, I look at him like, and I have my look. And remember, there's ways that if you get so in tune with yourself, and then you're able to translate that with the parenting of your child, you can communicate without even words. It's just kind of a knowingness. It's an energy. Yes. You start early. Imagine what will happen when your child is a teenager.
All right, thank you so much for that. And I want to piggyback off of that and say that going back, I love what you said. He said so many great things in such little time. Isn't it the work all about ourselves? A lot of parents are like, well, if my kid did that this way, I'd be happier, or I'd be calmer, or I'd be this. But remember, it's your job to make yourself happy. It's your job to make yourself aware. It's our own work to be mindful and present. Nobody can get that out of us. It's from the inside out.
Yes, it's something. I have been doing this work for a long time, and it was last year, July, I left for 10 days. I'm going again next week to do some work on myself. And I'm actually in a good place. It's not like, oh my God, I'm going through depression or anything like that. It's more to improve my life, my business. However, last year, I had the most unique experience, happening, because I had a child. I had a lifestyle set up in a way where it was for a single man. And that means I had my private practice. Weekends, I play in a band. So how do I become a weekend dad? I mean, or like if that's what was the schedule. And I also didn't have babysitters around me. I didn't have friends who had children. For whatever reason, it's also is that it's a lot easier to hang out with couples who maybe have children to do those functions once you have a child. Yeah. Well, imagine to some dude who is a rock star on the weekends, who lives a single life and so forth, and all of a sudden it's like a movie. Like, here's your baby.
It totally is a movie. We've talked about this before. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so I was breaking down. I was really breaking down. It was like I felt this tension, and I left to work on myself. And that work was to really better my relationship with a mother. And and when we talk about like working on yourself, one thing I learned is that one way to kind of teach my son, even though I'm not with the mother, is show him how much I love the mother.
I love
how
that.
much respect he's going to have for women.
Yes.
So it's, here I'm not with this woman, and even though she's irritated the hell out of me a few times, it's that he is watching how I am with her.
Even without her being present. Yes, this is key.
Yes. So it's, and this is important for me because my father comes from a different generation where they kind of, they diss the women. My dad is 90 and from the Bronx, and he does that with my mom. He's slowed down a lot because he's just gotten a lot older, but he used to be pretty bad as far as the way he would talk about my mother. And so I wouldn't say my dad was not a misogynist, but he saw women as not being as smart or something, or just like these aliens. And so I wanted it, even though I didn't have that type of parenting. In fact, when I was a teenager in early 20s, I was a little bit like my father. I wasn't as bad, but I thought the same thing. I didn't understand masculine and feminine communication. So because she was a little bit flaky or emotional, I saw that as being weak or something. I didn't understand it. Yeah. That's really the main issue with my father, is because my mom's feminine.
Very feminine.
Yeah. So he just thinks like, you change your mind. And I'm like, yeah, Mom. Yes, Dad. She's a girl.
She's flowing through her emotions.
Yes. So I didn't understand that when I was younger, but with my son Max, it's really demonstrating that. So he is this ultimate superior lover. He is a stand-up man. Yeah.
And this work that we do, that you can do, is what's gonna make a better human race.
Yeah.
This is that's the world I know every parent want to live behind for their children and grandchildren. Is people with an open heart, people who can communicate from a place of understanding and compassion. The old paradigm is done. And this was such a calling for me because I saw people wanting to do it, but sometimes not knowing how to do this. And the information is out there. We're out there. We're in playgrounds. We are in the mall. We are in the restaurants. And I want people to come together and understand that we are our own community. We are not going to go into the supermarket when your kid's having a tantrum. We're not going to give you the look because we've been there. We're going to give you a hand. And that's what I want to bring up with all this. And Dr. Ray mentioned something really important, the energy you're giving your child without words. That is so key in every relationship. Sometimes the things that are not being said are the most impactful ones. Yeah. And the energy that you're putting out there. So with that said, how do you bring, you specifically, presence and mindfulness when parenting is really challenging? Or on those moments where you just want to go like, oh my God, I'm going to lose it right now.
I think it's not so much what you do when it happens.
Yes.
Because it doesn't seem to ever work out. It's like, you being a black belt and then you go out and then like some teenager kicks your ass and takes your wallet. You know what I mean?
You're like, whoa, what just happened?
You're just thrown off, okay?
How do you bring mindfulness into your day, and how does that reflect into your parenting? Because I have my own practices, so I want to hear from you.
Okay. So and this would be not just for parenting, just but for your life as a person. And that is disconnect as much as possible from social media. That's one. Two is morning rituals.
Yes.
Where you spend minimum 5 minutes to yourself to ground yourself in your purpose of how you want the day to unfold. It's connecting to every parent should have some hobby, some passion outside of the family.
Yes, amen.
You're kind of doing it now, even though it's related to
but this is,
parenting.
Yes.
So this would be an example. You have to have something.
You need to.
It can't be all about your child, because what ends up happening is, how do you know what thoughts are yours?
Yes.
versus, what is just like projections from just everything that's happening.
Absolutely.
You need to be able to break away so you get a better perspective on things.
Yeah.
That's why people, when they go on vacation, or they take space from their partner and then they start talking to their friends. It might be a guy who's pissed off at his wife, and then a few male friends kind of call him on his stuff. And he's like, well, she's probably going through this.
Yeah.
And he comes back with flowers. He's like, I'm sorry, I didn't really know you're going through this. See, when we're so enmeshed in the doing, paying the bills, maybe health challenges, and trying to be the right parent, everything starts becoming messy. You need to have space. You might be watching this thinking, well, I don't have the ability to create that right now. You can, there's ways, if you really want to do it, you can do it. I'll give you an example. As I have gotten a little bit out of shape, not extremely, but like for where I'd like to be, just a little bit since I've had Max. And the only reason why it's because I used to have 7 days to work out.
To yourself. Yeah.
Yes. So I don't. I missed that. So of course I invested in a bike so I can put him on the back. So that's become my exercise when I'm with him.
Yes.
I'm making a point when he's with me also, and if I have a friend to watch, I said for two things. I want him to see me work out because I want him to learn that that's a part of my life, and I hopefully exercise becomes a part of his life.
Yes.
It's doing things, everything that I would do without him, I'm trying to incorporate with him in some shape or form.
Yes.
So my life hasn't stopped. And that's the thing. And I think that's what happens to a lot of people is that they have children and then their life stops. It becomes about the current problem with so-and-so, the child or with the spouse. It's where when you continue to check in with yourself, do your own work, your rituals, whether it's doing yoga, going to the gym, going to the beach,
Yes.
it's creating a night without your partner. And if you have insecurities, that might mean you need to work with a coach, or I don't know what it would be. There's many avenues.
Yes.
But it's great that your spouse can go out with his or her friends.
Absolutely. Please.
Just get some space. I mean, I think most people agree with this. We all need that space.
Yes.
Just getting that flow and that fun back into the family environment.
Absolutely. And I think that and it took me a while to figure that out. So I don't want anybody to feel guilty. If you haven't figured that out yet, there's always a time for you to go back to that. And you mentioned your 10-day, retreat.
Mm-hmm.
I just had a retreat, a 5-day retreat by myself. And what a blessing that is to be able to take yourself out of your daily grind, of your daily routine, and just be with yourself. Mm-hmm. And reevaluate things. And how are you now? What do you want from your life? And it's not about making people adjust to our needs. It's about adjusting our needs to ourselves and who we've become, because we're constantly changing. And
let's be clear with the retreat, because the retreat doesn't mean going away 7 days to go fishing with your buddies and drink beer. It's
hard work.
And I'll just give you an example of what happened with my retreat. At least the healing work.
But you can do the fishing with the buddies too. That's okay. That's another kind of retreat.
yeah. Well, I went there, and one of the things that was coming up is that I didn't have the best communication with the mother of my child at the time, or it would just somehow get really disruptive. And she was going through her own process and healing what had happened with her ex. Yeah. She had not gone to therapy or anything, so a lot of what was happening, she was projecting onto me. But it was not just that. She was feeling judged by me. Mm-hmm. There's all these things that she was feeling. I was saying, I'm not doing that. I'm really open-minded. Bullshit. Mm-hmm. What had happened was I went on this retreat and realized I was able to kind of step in her shoes and ask myself, what would it feel like to be Ashley? What would it feel like? And I saw myself through her eyes, and I saw a very judgmental man. And even though there was maybe some concerns that was understandable, that I still was putting out that energy, and so she felt like she was being controlled like her ex. Yeah. Even though I wasn't with her. Yeah. She's feeling like this man was trying to control her life, and indirectly she's feeling like she was not enough. So she felt very irritated around me. And I shifted that energy, and after that everything changed in a relationship. Mm-hmm. She really didn't do any work. I mean, that she didn't go on a retreat. She didn't read a book or see a coach. By me shifting my energy,
Yes,
shifted our entire relationship, and it impacted my son in a positive way.
Yes.
So this inner work we're talking about, you might be thinking, oh God, it'd be great if my partner can to do this also. Well, yes, but it's not absolutely necessary.
No, it's not. And your life is going to be so much better regardless of your partner, your situation with your child. And I think what Ray's saying is that it doesn't matter where you are in your life and the conditions and the situations, there's always that time that you can look inside and change and shift your perspective. And so it takes us some time going away from that environment to be able to see a bigger and clearer picture about, wait a minute, how am I projecting and how am I being projected in this dynamic? And kids are such a blessing in that way because they will be mirrors.
Yeah, there's maybe this being even a way to kind of start bring us to a close. Like,
Yeah.
We talked about communicating, without words, and you remember this as when your child was a lot smaller. How old is she now?
3.5.
Okay. So when little subtle things that she would do when she maybe just sit up on the couch with you and your husband, she felt like an adult.
Yeah.
Okay. Now imagine if you're sitting on the couch watching a lot of TV. Will he or she end up doing the same? Little things like that. It's like little habits. Is it serving you? Is it serving your family? What type of TV you watch. And I'm not saying TV is bad. I'm just saying they pick up objects on the phone. Little objects. They see you on the phone all the time. How often are you looking at your child, looking at the phone? I see children today, 7, 8 years old, where they'll say hello and they're looking at their phone. Like they're trying to be polite because mom or dad's introducing them to someone, but they're like this. So here's something to remember, that your children, as far as the maturation of the brain, the most pertinent years is from 0 to 5 years old. So the way that they learn to self-regulate, the way that they come to see themselves in the world, is through what they are witnessing in their world around them, from whether it's arguments or reconciling arguments. It's you don't have to create the perfect environment.
No.
What it is that there's congruency, there's consistency. You're practicing what you're teaching. You are able to be present with your child. They watch you be present with your spouse. It's all these things. It's where, so they develop those. And a lot of adults will agree with this. Have you noticed a lot of teenagers and even young adults in their 20s how they have no interpersonal skills? No interpersonal skills at all. It's because they learn through this. They learn through watching. There's no interaction. That part of the brain that grows and develops those skills, it didn't happen. But they're really great on computers. They're really great. There's other skill sets. It's great. But so being present is about just really being connected. It's not like you can read as many books as you want. What I learned also, I've gotten rid of almost all of them. I stopped reading them because then I got some real basic ones. And there's one book I think it's called Creating Happiness. I think that's the name. And it's about the self-reflection about your own happiness. Yeah. And at the end of the day, happy people typically make really good choices. Yes. Because when you're happy, you're connected to source. When you're connected to source, you're connected to your higher intelligence.
Yes, and we all have that available. Just tapping in.
Yes. So presence, being able to observe, and funny story, I remember I was laying on my back for a moment, stretching, and I put my arms up like this, and when I'm changing his diapers so he doesn't get the stuff on him, the poo-poo, sometimes I put his hands on. I said, put your hands up. And I was lying on my back, stretching, and he grabbed one of his diapers and brought it to me. It was so cute.
Oh, it's time to change his diapers.
Yeah. So, no, those are my Depends.
But we're not going to tell you how old he is.
So, they're copying everything.
Everything.
Those little things, everything. And I'm just using those examples because those little things, it's innocent, and it's just they're copying everything. So that's why, like for me, like I can't fool him.
No.
I can't fool him.
That's why when you're mindful and present, you realize that when you think you're fooling them, you're fooling yourself.
Absolutely.
Right? And thank you, Ray, for this time. And
you're welcome.
it is cool to not fit in. It is cool to be present. It is because you brought something in the beginning that I just want to touch to in, is that, you said we don't have to buy into the mass consciousness of things. And what you project out, and this is in any relationship, you get back. So if you think, oh, terrible, choose this and that, that's all right. You've put it out there. That's what the universe is going to bring back to you. So take the chance as a parent to redesign the relationship with yourself and to see the results everywhere. Thank you. Thank you for your presence.
Hi, it's Dr. Ray here, and thank you for watching this video. I really appreciate your support, and you are the one who drives this channel. So if you like to be notified when new videos come out, please subscribe to my channel and push the bell button so you are notified when new videos come out. I appreciate you supporting this channel.